Okay, guys, let's get started. So my name is Paul Dundon. I'm the Managing Director of DHS. And today I'm just going to bring you through an overview of AbsenceTrack, which is our specialist absence management system. And hopefully give you enough information to see whether a specific absence platform will be beneficial for your business. Just by way of introduction, for those of you who don't know, DHS was established over 15 years ago. We are one of the largest providers of workplace health solutions, and we offer services across 4 key areas. Absence management is the foundation of our business, and we've been providing a 24/7 telehealth and absence software platform solution to customers across Australia and New Zealand and beyond. We also run a 24/7 injury management triage service, and that model is supported with a nationwide network of doctors, physios, and psychologists, and they actually provide services across all of our solutions. We have a pre-employment and periodic medical solutions business, and we also have a software platform called EorTrack, which is a HR case management system. We deliver results through a 24/7 telehealth platform, a telehealth solution, and that's a 24/7 nurse contact center supported with teledoctors and telephysios to provide advice and support to workers across Australia. So that's a bit about us. Without going into too much detail, we cover around 250,000 employees across Australia and New Zealand, across several hundred organisations. And internally, we employ around 50 staff, not including our technology development team. And we work across all industry sectors. So that may well be anything from transport, healthcare. Contact centers is a very big sector where we operate in, through to logistics, mining, and so forth. So these customers are all our absence clients who would be using this platform, AbsenceTrack, that I'm going to bring you through today. Just in terms of our software solutions, we've actually got a range of modules, and what we're actually doing as a business is endeavoring to provide a platform for HR, health, and safety to link all of their employee health, performance, and productivity data into one space. So whereas most HRIS systems may have payroll and rostering, we actually don't have that in our platform. We've just got particular things around absence, around safety and incident recording, HR case management, a medical database so that you can track medicals for employees whilst they're working with you, and also a performance appraisal system. So that's all employee-related metric data, and what we're doing is, and I'll show you, if a company is using all of those modules, for example, they'll be able to see all of the key events that employee has been involved in. So it gives you a single view of an employee record to an extent. So just getting into absence and setting up a bit of a scene for you. So we've been helping businesses manage and reduce absenteeism for years, and our full-on program helps organizations reduce absence by around 25 to 40% on average within a 12 to 24-month period. And obviously, this platform I'm going to show you is a key part of that. So some of the issues that we hear, and some of these may resonate with you, there's a big acceptance in Australia that taking sick leave is okay, genuine or non-genuine. And because of this, often it can go unmanaged. And when it's unmanaged, then it can become a cultural issue. And that is what we often talk about in terms of a sickie culture or a sickie entitlement. So that's one key prevalent issue. The other issue is around data capture. So a lot of the information around absence is incorrectly coded. So we may accept personal issues as medical absence. We may not actually code anything beyond sick or carers leave, and it provides limited information to help an organization strategically address it. there's often poor policy application around how it's actually implemented. And because the data is not captured in an appropriate way, or even underreported in many cases, it becomes very, very difficult to start managing to absence data information when it gets complicated. There's limited monitoring, so often HR may be relied upon to give reporting to their frontline leaders, or their frontline leaders aren't actively engaging in any information that they do have access to, or it may not be real time, so they're not getting access to it. The entitlement culture I talked about, and entitlement culture is prevalent across a lot of organizations. We think we've got 10 days of sick leave a year, therefore we'll take 10 days of sick leave a year. But it can become much more expensive than that, because if you actually accrue all of your entitlements year on year. So and many employees can end up with 20, 30, 40 days of sick leave entitlement, and then all of a sudden they can take it. There's privacy concerns around, particularly for managers. Managers aren't sure how to have discussions around employee absence, what they can and they can't say. Can they challenge employees about the reasons for the absence? And in simple terms, how to actually have what we would call a return to work discussion, and have that to be an effective interaction to support the employee, but secondly to also address any concerns around absence behavior or absence levels or patterns. So there's some of the key things, and one of the kind of final things which I'm kind of really excited to show you guys today is our analytics platform. Is a limited kind of real insight into what are the things that are driving you sick leave and absenteeism. And that could be anything from poor management action through to chronic health issues or prevalent health issues or many other things. So they'll all be related to your environment. So before I just go into the demo, I just want to set a scene for what it is. It's a real-time absence platform for notifications. So you can, whilst many companies will use our absence reporting call center to report sick leave, you can handle these calls with AbsenceTrack internally. Maybe it's through your workforce planning, maybe it's frontline managers who are actually doing it, or an administrator, it could be anything. But when information is put into the system, it can send alerts and notifications and feed data directly into third-party systems. You can benchmark all your absence rates across all your business units and locations. You can drill into pre-analyzed individual records. So you can start seeing how many Mondays and Fridays an employee has had off. You can look at the individual notes. HR could look at the notes that a manager has documented for that employee about their absence. And they would do that through what we call a return to work interview. So it's really, it can be back to work discussion. And that's a tool for managers to, sorry, am I not sharing? I'm saying I'm sharing, implementing. Sorry, someone's just telling me I'm stuck on implementing. Recording absence, return to work interviews, recording absence reasons. So more than just sick leave, but also medical reasons. And there's also some manager tools to track that managers are actually having those return to work discussions. So if they're not complying with your policy, to have a back to work chat with an employee after every absence. And that's something we know helps reduce absenteeism levels. We've got lots of statistics around that. You can track their compliance and say many companies might have a compliance rate of 80%. If they're not hitting 80% and there's high absenteeism levels, then they can talk to managers about being more proactive in their attendance. You can upload all of your med certs and stat decks and documents and attendance plans to the platform against the employee file. You can feed in rosters into the platform, and we can integrate with third-party payroll systems. So that's a configuration that we just need to set up. So let me hop into the live demo. I'm hoping you can see my screen, which is our test company. And this is your manager landing page. So I'll just bring you through what this actually looks like. So I've logged in as Karen. I can see there's 10 absences in my area today. I can filter by division or department or by teams, and that would update all of the data, but it will reflect your organizational reporting line. I can also see I've got 16 tasks, and they would be 16 return to work interviews. There's the 10% of employees are absent that are in my remit, and 10 days of absence month. So these are some cases. There you see all the people who are absent by division down here, and I can click through to the record, which I will do in a sec, and pull up their individual absence record. So I'll see here when they've started, when they're expected to return, how many shifts they're going to lose or days lost, and the reason that they've disclosed for the absence. And I can even see what time this record was actually put into the system. Going down below, the leader would also see their return to work interviews. So this manager's got 10. And so the idea, no doubt many of you have already got return to work discussions occurring within your organization. And if you don't, I definitely encourage you. These are just really easy back to work discussions that get documented. And that allows us to provide reporting to track that they're actually getting done. So if I want to complete a return to work interview, what pops up is a predefined return to work form that we can customize for each client. Now, something I didn't point out, you can see here that this person returned on the 24th of October, and this was due on the 25th of October. So we can set the system so you've got to complete a return to work interview within 48 hours or 72 hours. Otherwise, it becomes an overdue task. So I'll complete the return to work. They're fit enough to return to work. They've got all the paperwork. I can say it's a medical certificate. I can upload the medical certificate here, or if they didn't need a cert, not required. I can feed this directly into payroll or document that it's been updated. And I can say the employee has migraines, blah, blah, blah. If I need to upload any more documents, I can, and then I can insert any notes. Okay, discussed employee frequent absence today. Agreed to make improvements, whatever it may be. And then I can save it, and that will disappear, and now I'll have only 9 left. So that's the return to work process. So the day in the life of a frontline leader is completing these return to works. And they may only have 1 or 2 each day, so it's not an onerous task. There's also an exclamation mark here, so you can see what we call trigger points. If that absence has hit a trigger point, it'll alert the manager via an email as well that this person has had a long-term absence of more than 10 days. Or let's say this guy, Gavin, here, he's reached the threshold of more than 10 days of absence in a 12-month period. So that will have created what we call a trigger review. So here's a bunch of trigger reviews that are set out for the manager to complete. And you can see who the employee is, what the trigger type is. So here's more than 10 in 10 days and 12 months. Now, these kind of triggers you can set to be whatever you want. It could be 5 Mondays in a row. It could be 5 days in 6 months. It can be 20 days. It can be a Bradford score metric, which is the frequency of absence. And that will create an alert. And the idea behind triggers is that you've got a structured process your managers will follow to have a more formal discussion with the employees. So here's one that's already in play. So the status is either it's pending, so it hasn't been actioned, or it's in progress, and there's a due date follow-up task associated with it. So here is what we call a trigger form. So you can integrate particular letters. So if you wanted to have a HR letter going, you've hit 10 days and 12 months, 15 days or 20 days, and therefore you're going on an attendance support plan, which we call an ASP. That can all be documented in the system. This one's in progress. I can add file notes. Okay, discuss the ASP with employee and so forth. So you can document all your file notes. I can add a follow-up action going check in 3 weeks. and review absence. Better if I try and get the spelling right. And I'll just set that for a task to go in 3 weeks. I can download it to my calendar and I'll save that. And that will sit on my task list on the homepage. I can see the absence record. I can view the details of their history and any triggers that they may have hit in the past. So, and then I'll just save the form. So I'll go out of that. Then just on the dashboard, the manager will see the absence trends, and they can benchmark business units just for their area of scope. And managers, by the way, would only see the teams that they are responsible for reviewing. Then you can see the days lost and the absence spells, and the return to work compliance for any return to work activities. So this is saying 60% of return to works were actually done. And here's the trend of activities of how many return to work interviews were sent to the manager, how many have been completed, and how many of them have been done on time. So that's that. Now let's say you need to log an absence for somebody. So we'll pull somebody up. I can pull up the whole database. I'll log an absence for Adam Apple. So this could be something your workforce planning or your admin or your team leaders would use. That's what they do. So if I need to update a previous absence, I can go into it here. There's a custom note. So if an employee has some particular work restriction or some sort of modification or whatever it may be, you can actually save this here so that it's on the file. I can start an absence. I can also log all your, you can log all your late calls or do an incident report through the platform. I'll say it's a medical absence, and then I can classify what type of medical absence it is. So let's say it's COVID related because they need a test. Can I let your manager know the reason for the absence? Is it due to an incident work? And then I'll just put in my date. So I'll start it today at, let's say, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and coming back to work on Friday. I'll put in 2 days, but Thursday is a part day. They only work 4 hours. Okay. And I'll save the absence. And I'll pick a new one. So that's kind of the basic version of it. It's actually that simple to get an absence into the platform. All of the magic happens in the background in terms of how we configure it. So that will, when that employee returns to work on Friday, automatically a return to work interview will actually sit on the manager's dashboard. They'll also have received a notification telling them that that's the case. And you can view all the, if I've got different access or I want to do a breakdown across teams, I can also break it down in that way as well. Okay, so that's the kind of admin. Let me show you some of the cool reporting. So I'll go into, there's a range of reports, sorry, on this left-hand side. Absence reports, manager compliance reports, which would track the return to work activity, the status of any triggers that have been hit. So you'll be able to see any notes or activity against those trigger points. I can schedule reports, and for people who have company level access or divisional level access, the system will automatically publish management reports as well. So here's your trending, and you get this sort of data where you can benchmark your business units. You can see the absence rates. And I didn't explain as well, we would do an auto sync of your employee payroll or whatever system you're using to upload, so that this system will always have a updated version of your employee listing, whoever's active, and it'll automatically deactivate people who leave. And what that means is we'll be able to accurately record the absence rate for employees. So that's where this calculation is coming from. And you can see last 12 months average and how you're trending for the last 3 months. So if I wish to drill down into subunits, if there are business units underneath here, or maybe there aren't, I can drill down. The days lost, so it's showing you this, we sort this by where most days lost are actually occurring by business, and then the days available helps us calculate the absence rate. So here's the division going down to the department and then down to the team level. So you can really get a quick view of what's happening across your team from an absence rate perspective. And I guess that's all well and good, but what I find most managers really want to see and everybody wants to look at is when there's a problem, we want to drill into somebody's record. So I'll just do, there's a global search function up here. You can find any employee. It'll show you who they are. And here we can see their actual absence records. So what this is showing you, depending on the modules, you can see them here. So you've got that single view, but you'll have the absence analysis, and it'll show you how many shifts this person's lost. Only 3 shifts, doing pretty well. Medical absence, all for medical, has had 3 spells, an absence rate of 1.3%. So, and a day of the week pattern analysis sitting here. So we're not that interested in a guy like this because he's only had 3 days off and 12.
Much more absence. You can also see the employee's absence rate against the team and the company level, so you can do a comparison. Another report I'd like to show you, I'll just pull up this, what we call a focus list. So everybody's going to have a portion of employees who are taking up a lot of time, and often that may be, for example, the top 10%, top 15, top 20% of employees in the business. So this report just helps filter that really quickly, and you can see who's having most absence, what their status is, the days lost, the number of spells, and a spell in our terminology is an absence incident, which could be 1 day or it could be 3 consecutive days. And that allows us to calculate what's called a Bradford score. And a Bradford score is a metric to help identify the most frequently absent and most absent employees in the business. And we've got a white paper on how to actually deploy that in your organization. So reach out if you want a copy of that, and then it'll track their absence rate. Also shows you if there's certificate or evidence being provided for each absence when a return to work happens. So you may start identifying high absentees who are not providing certificates and in breach of policy, and you can investigate that further. So if we just pull up this chap here, hopefully there's a bit more data. And here's the record. He's had 40 days off, 2 absences, absence rate 17%. You can see when they've been off. So he's had some sort of long-term absence in February, their day of the week analysis. And here I can also pull up any return to work discussions that have been held. So I can go into that. And what's great about this is when people move teams or have a new manager, we don't necessarily want to lose the entire history of that and do a fresh restart. You want some continuity. So for the new manager, this will support them to do that. And you can see they've cited a MedCert, and it's a MedCert. And if they wanted to upload it, that will be sitting here. You can also ad hoc create an attendance review because you've got some concern or you need to follow up on somebody. So you can just generate a review and say, requires attendance support, and you can kick off that process. And again, this type of form can be customized to your requirements. So that's a very quick overview of the individual record and the employee focus list. You can obviously pull up all employees. Another great report, just on those trigger points, when people have hit triggers, you can see a employee trigger report here. So who's hit triggers across the business, what type of trigger they've met, when they reached it, and what the status is. So I can go in and start actioning this. That's 40 days old, so we'll say it's complete. And they can close it off and upload their notes. Another component I wanted to show you is the sorts of analytics that you can get out of the platform. So within our system, it's a Microsoft platform, so we have embedded Power BI into our application, and all our customers get access to that. And it gives you some really powerful analytics around your trend data, days lost. You can start breaking down into subunits. You can run analysis on return to work activities, absence reasons, employee absence records. There's an employee timeline of absence and a monthly hotspot. So you can just look at the previous month and see what may be driving absence. So here's an example of a compliance. So 80s in this, so their compliance has dropped off, but perhaps it's for COVID, it's test data. 87% of return to works, 100% of return to works are getting completed, and 87% are getting done on time. So with that sort of consistency, you'd expect some great absence results. And then you can look at each manager individually and see what their compliance is. So very quick snapshot, and what we find is a lot of companies will want to actually use this as part of their management meetings to drill down. I'll just show you, for example, an employee heat map. I'm just conscious this is for 30 minutes, so I'm flashing through it and nearly done. So we can pull up a report on, hopefully that's running. And if anybody's got any questions, somebody's popped a question in. Oh, somebody's, okay. Okay, so here's your hotspot. So you can see drill down into that level of data. So that's a very quick overview. I've just had a question asking, is it, okay, here is the heat map, so you can start tracking. In relation to this type of report, you can see when people are taking time off and drill in to their actual record and see what time, what are the reasons for the absence and so forth. So that's the analytics. I might open it up to see if there may be any questions that you would like to ask about it. There was mention in the webinar of touching on COVID, and we released a article in relation to that, which if you haven't received it, we'll send it straight after this program. But what we did notice with the impact of COVID was in March, the levels of absence spiked dramatically and totally tapered off across April, May and June. And what we've observed over the last 2 months is we're seeing a normalization, so to speak, of people coming back to work and taking normal absence levels. So we're seeing some greater levels of mental health and anxiety related absence coming through a telehealth center in particular, and that's predominantly how we will know what's driving the reasons for absence. And there's some fears around returning to work and some escalation of issues of employees saying they're being pressured or bullied into returning to work. So we're doing a reasonable amount of work with corporates and assisting them through that process. So I'd like to open it up to any questions if there are any. And if not, we can wrap it up on time. I'd like to thank you all for attending, and please feel free to reach out with any questions, or if you need any assistance or information around absence management in Australia, we'll be absolutely pleased to share any information that we have with you.